Elena arrived in Cancun under a bright, warm sun. She had planned this trip for weeks. At 70 years old, she felt both excited and nervous. Her husband had passed away many years ago. Now she would see her daughters, her son, and her grandchildren again. She hoped for hugs, smiles, and happy conversations. At the airport, she walked slowly through a crowd of travelers. People spoke in Spanish and English. Bright signs pointed to baggage claim, car rentals, and hotel shuttles. Elena carried a small suitcase and a light shoulder bag. She thought, I am here. I am ready to see my family. She took a deep breath and pushed her hair away from her face. Outside the terminal, the air smelled of salt water and flowers. Rows of taxis waited at the curb. Elena looked at each driver as she approached. One car had a blue stripe on its door. The driver held out his hand to help with her luggage. She smiled and said, "Hello." He nodded but did not speak. She climbed into the back seat and closed the door. The driver started the engine and pulled away from the curb. Inside the taxi, it was cool from the air conditioner. Elena watched tall palm trees and clear blue skies pass by. She felt a small thrill when she saw the ocean in the distance. For a few moments, the driver did not speak. Elena wanted to practice English, but she did not want to make him uncomfortable. She remembered her teacher's advice. Use simple words and speak slowly. She tried quietly. It is a nice day. The driver did not answer. She tried again. I came to join my family. Still no answer. Elena felt a little sad that he was so quiet. She thought, maybe he does not want to talk. She looked out the window and saw colorful buildings and flowering plants. She said, Cancun is very beautiful. He checked the road behind him and then continued driving without a word. The silence gave Elena time to think. She wondered where her family would be waiting. Would her grandchildren run to hug her? Would her son take her hand? She imagined dinner with laughter and music. She pictured her grandchildren telling her about school and friends. The taxi turned onto a busy road. Cars and buses moved past at a steady pace. Elena saw street markets with fresh fruit. She saw families walking together. She thought about how lucky she was to make this trip. At the same time, she felt a gentle nervousness. New places and new faces can bring both joy and fear. She practiced another sentence in her head. I feel happy and a little nervous. She spoke softly. I feel happy. The driver glanced in the mirror and finally spoke. Family is not always easy. His voice was low and calm. Elena looked at him through the mirror. She felt a small rush of curiosity. She replied, That sounds hard. He nodded without smiling. Then he turned off the radio, which had been playing a soft song. The sudden quiet made Elena's heart beat a little faster. She thought about how families can have both happy and difficult moments. She thought of her own life, the love she shared, and the loss she felt when her husband died. She felt a warmth in her chest as she remembered his voice. The taxi slowed as it reached a busy intersection. Elena saw a tall hotel sign ahead. She was almost there. She took another deep breath and decided to say one more sentence. Thank you for driving me. The driver gave a small nod, but did not speak. When the taxi reached the hotel entrance, the driver stopped the car. Elena opened the door and gathered her bags. She turned back and said, Goodbye. He nodded again. She stepped onto the pavement. The warm sunlight and gentle breeze welcomed her. Elena smiled to herself. She had used simple English during the short ride. She had faced her nervousness. and practiced speaking. Now she felt ready to find her family and share her story. She walked toward the hotel lobby, her heart light and her spirit ready for the reunion ahead. The taxi moved smoothly through the busy streets of Cancun. Elena watched the buildings pass by, but she noticed the driver was looking at her in the mirror. He cleared his throat and said, "Family is not always easy." His voice was soft and quiet. Elena felt her heart skip a beat. She realized this ride was more than a trip to her hotel. She turned slightly to see him better. "That sounds hard," she said gently. The driver nodded. He kept his eyes on the road, but Elena sensed he wanted to share something. After a few seconds of silence, he spoke again. "I work every day. I drive strangers. I smile for tips. But at home, I feel like a ghost." Elena's breath caught. A ghost was a strong word. She thought about how ghosts are unseen and lonely. She said, "A ghost cannot be heard or the seen." The driver glanced at her through the mirror. He looked tired. He cleared his throat again and said, "My wife and I fight. We do not speak. My daughter stays in her room. She says I never listen." Elena remembered her own story. She chose her words carefully. "I lost my husband after 40 years of marriage," she said. "I was always busy. I thought I had time to say everything, but one day it was too late." The driver's shoulders moved as if he were carrying a heavy weight. Elena continued, "Sometimes silence can hurt more than words." She spoke slowly, so learners of English could follow. He nodded slowly. His eyes in the mirror looked sad. He reached over to turn off the radio. The soft music stopped, and the taxi felt colder. Elena felt a moment of connection. She wanted to help him, but she was not sure how. The driver looked out the window. He paused before he spoke. "Last night, I almost left," he admitted. Elena's heart ached for him. She asked gently, "Why did you stay?" He hesitated. Then he said, "My daughter cried outside my door. I heard her tears. I could not go." Elena offered a small, kind smile. "Her tears show she still needs you," she said softly. The driver paused. He looked at her in the mirror and whispered, "Maybe you are right." The taxi passed a school where children were playing. Elena watched the colorful uniforms and swinging gates. She thought about the driver's daughter. She said, "When children cry, it means they still care." The driver took a deep breath. "I work long hours to bring food and pay bills," he said, "but I do not talk to them. I forget they have feelings too." Elena nodded. She leaned back in her seat and said in a calm voice, "We all make mistakes. I made mine when I was busy and lost the chance to say goodbye." She paused, letting learners hear the simple past tense. "I thought tomorrow would come, but it did not." The driver looked thoughtful. He turned off the highway and took a smaller road. Elena had an idea. She said, "Talking can help. Even a few words can heal." The driver looked at her. He asked, "How do I start?" Elena thought of easy words. She said, "You can say, 'I am sorry,' or 'I love you.'" She spoke each phrase clearly. "I am sorry," she repeated. "I love you." The driver closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them and spoke softly. "I want to try." Elena smiled kindly. She felt proud he was willing to change. The taxi slowed near a quiet street. Elena felt a peaceful warmth in her chest. She realized this conversation was a gift for both of them. The driver cleared his throat and said, "Thank you for listening." Elena shook her head. "Thank you for talking," she replied. She hoped learners of English would remember these simple, caring words. The taxi turned onto the hotel's road. Elena saw palm trees lit by afternoon sun. She knew her ride was almost over. She reached for her bag and said, "You have a chance to heal. I believe you can do it." The driver looked at her in the mirror. His eyes were softer now. He nodded. Elena opened the door and stepped out. She felt the warm breeze and heard distant laughter from the hotel garden. She turned back once. The driver offered a small, genuine smile. Elena returned the smile and walked toward the lobby. Inside, she felt ready for her family reunion. She thought about the driver and felt grateful for their shared moment. She hoped he would speak to his wife and daughter soon. As she walked, she practiced a final sentence in her mind. Sometimes, a kind word can change a life. This conversation of two hearts showed that simple, honest words can bring people together. Elena and the driver had found connection on a short taxi ride. Learners of English can remember this story and practice using caring phrases every day. The driver paused and reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small, folded letter from his daughter. He looked at Elena through the mirror and said, "I never opened this." His voice was low and shaky. Elena spoke kindly. "Be brave. Open it now." He unfolded the paper and read the words slowly. "Dear Dad, I know you work hard every day. You bring food home and pay the bills. But I miss your voice. I miss your hug. I want my father back. Please come home." The driver's eyes filled with tears. Elena felt her heart warm with hope. He folded the letter gently and held it close. Then he read more. "I know you feel tired and lost, but I still need you. Don't walk away from us. Walk back to us." The driver looked up, his eyes soft. "She still loves me," he whispered. Elena smiled and said, "If she still cares, it is not too late." The taxi moved forward as the driver thought deeply. After a moment, he turned the wheel toward a quiet side road. He said, "I want to go home now." Elena nodded and replied, "Yes. Go home and tell them you love them." The driver guided the taxi to a small bus stop shaded by a palm tree. Elena opened her door and stepped onto the sidewalk. She turned and said, "You don't need to take me to the hotel. This is where you start your journey." The driver gave her a real smile for the first time. Elena closed her eyes and took a slow breath. She thought about how a short ride had changed both of them. The driver watched her walk toward the bench. He held the letter as if it were a treasure. Elena waved and said softly, "Live the change." When the bus came, Elena climbed on. She found a seat by the window. She looked back and saw the driver standing alone, reading the letter again. He nodded to himself as if he made a promise. Elena felt a gentle joy in her chest. She reached into her bag and found a small note from her own daughter. It read, "We love you, Grandma. Welcome home." Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "Sometimes one moment changes everything." The bus moved on, carrying Elena toward her hotel and her family. She felt ready for hugs, laughter, and new memories. She knew that simple words and brave hearts can bring people back together. Elena's journey in Cancun began as a simple trip to see her family, but it became so much more. In a short taxi ride, she met a silent driver who carried a heavy heart. As they drove through warm, bright streets, Elena gently asked him to open a letter from his daughter. His hands trembled, But he unfolded the paper and read words filled with love and longing. I miss your voice. I miss your hug. Please come home, the letter said. In that moment, he saw hope. He decided to turn the car toward home instead of the hotel. Elena stepped out at a small bus stop and told him, Your journey starts today. As Elena rode the bus to her hotel, she reflected on their shared moment. On one side, there was a 70-year-old widow who had lost her partner but never lost her kindness. On the other side, a tired driver who felt like a ghost at home. Together, they changed each other's day with simple words. Be brave. It is not too late. And walk back to us. This story reminds us that we all carry silent struggles. A small act of courage, opening a letter saying, I love you, or simply listening, can bring healing and renewal. We learn that it is never too late to speak from the heart. It is never too late to listen. And it is never too late to change our path. When you see someone who seems quiet or distant, remember they might carry unseen pain. You can make a difference by offering a few kind words. Practice simple phrases in English. How are you? I am here. Or, you are not alone. Reach out to friends or family you have lost touch with. Send a message, make a phone call, or share a hug. Let today be the moment you choose to connect, to listen, and to love. Congratulations! You have listened to the full story and practiced your English listening skills. To check your understanding, answer this question in the comments below. What decision did the driver make after reading his daughter's letter? A. He decided to leave home forever. B. He decided to go back home to his family. Comment A or B to share your answer. We love reading your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story and improved your English with us today, please subscribe to our channel. Your subscription helps us stay motivated to create more free, high-quality content for English learners. If you would like to support our work, consider making a small donation. In these early days, every gift helps us continue this project and reach more learners around the world. Thank you for your support and for being part of our community.